You're looking live in London, where the defending Super Bowl champs face the Jaguars on the pitch at Wembley Stadium. Carson Wentz leading his team, the defending Super Bowl champs, earlier today, arriving at Wembley. They'll be facing, of course, the Jaguars, who have a lot of experience playing across the pond in London. Jalen Ramsey, a lot of barking, a bit of a bite on the field. We'll see if they can turn it around. Both teams in desperation mode, looking for a W this morning.
Week 8 continues in London with a pair of Super Bowl contenders desperate for a victory. Does Philly's title defense rest squarely on the shoulders of Carson Wentz?
This is Carson Wentz at his best.
And is Jacksonville's outspoken corner backing up his trash talk?
It's not about me. It's about the team.
Live at Wembley Stadium, this is NFL Game Day Kickoff, presented by KFC.
My name, are you ready? Are you ready?
Caught in the back of the end zone, touchdown.
When his hand gets on the ball, it sticks.
Did he pick it off? Yes, he did.
Big time play by the defense.
Welcome to NFL Game Day Kickoff, presented by KFC.
Wembley Stadium getting ready for its third game in as many weeks. Two teams that were so close to squaring up in the Super Bowl a year ago, and we've been here all week long. It has been incredible. The vibe, the energy, the people, the fans. It's all been amazing. Come on in. My name's Kay Adams alongside Reggie Bush and Steve Smith and Kyle Brandt.
Hello.
How great is London?
Ooh, the best.
I love it. I love London, man.
I love English breakfast. What do you got, English breakfast? Scottish sausage, what do you have?
I could use some English breakfast right now. I'm hungry as hell.
Bacon, all the meats, all of it's great.
Yes, and Reggie's gone and joined Her Majesty's Navy. I see. Look
at
you, Reggie.
Look at me.
Who are you?
I'm the captain now.
Hey!
We'll be here with you all morning. The Super Bowl champs come to London, having lost 3 of 4. Their run game, it's been practically non-existent, and the defense isn't holding leads. And speaking of defense, what happened to the Jags? 3 straight losses. They gave up 40 to the Cowboys. It got so bad that Cody Kessler had to come into the game, of course, for Blake Bortles. Blake Bortles will be starting today, at least for a little bit, at Wembley. And to further the matter, Jaguars defensive backs Barry Church, Ronnie Harrison, DJ Hayden, and I think, who was it? Jared. There's another player.
There was one more guy there.
They went out, Jared Wilson. They went to the
Jared
club
Wilson.
on Friday night after arriving on Friday morning.
Yeah.
There's a dispute over a tab.
Yeah.
They ended up having to deal with the police
House payment.
till the late hours of the morning. Now, it was eventually resolved, and there is a statement from the Jags that we'll get to you right now. They said, "We are aware that 4 of our players were detained over restitution of a bill. The matter is being resolved, and the players are with the team. Any discipline will be handled internally." Reggie, I have a feeling you have some thoughts about this.
Yeah, I mean, this is a big issue right now, because this football team, where they are right now, this is a must-win football game for them. They cannot afford these kinds of distractions, and especially when one of the players isn't even playing today, DJ Hayden. I think he's out, right? And then you got Barry Church and Ronnie Harrison,
A veteran,
who have the task of trying to slow down this Eagles offense, and Carson Wentz, who's been lights out. That's the issue. This team is going through an identity issue right now, and you just can't afford these kind of distractions in a must-win game.
Well, you look at Calais Campbell already having a team meeting. So what do you have? You have a resurgence of accountability. And yet now you get out here on a business trip. Every coach says, especially for a London trip and any other areas where players have a high probability of being a target or doing some things extracurricular that you should not be doing prior to a game.
Right.
Coach always says this is a business trip.
Yep.
And treat this as a business. What got you here is the business of football. And what will get you out of here is having things like this. And one of the issues that I have is you come here on a Friday, you already are behind with the long air flight,
time change,
with the processed air taking the moisture out of your muscles, which leaves you to get what? high probability of muscle tears or strains.
Yeah.
So you take this opportunity as a business trip and you decide to be out till 4 a.m.
Yeah.
That is not the reason. That is not the accountability that Calais Campbell talked about and addressing. We are a team in crisis, and yet we go out and do that.
Yeah.
Poor judgment.
Yep.
Poor example of representing your team, your family, and your organization, and also just your brand of football.
Yeah.
Oh, man. You know, I'm trying to think of this from a Jaguars fan's perspective.
Yeah.
I remember my first beer. You know what I mean? Come on.
Yeah.
My eyes are rolling out of my head this morning because I'm hearing about an alleged confrontation. That sounds like college teams on Bourbon Street during bowl week. I'm hearing them skip the bill. That sounds like 15-year-old me out of a diner. You know what I mean? Like this. We have many different customs we've discovered here, Kay, this week.
Yep.
Leaving the check is not one of them. However, the good thing for the Jaguars is you win this game, the story goes away.
Yeah.
Poof, it's no big deal into the bye week. We don't even remember it. You lose, though, it becomes sort of the Odell on the boat type story that follows you around. So it's in their hands.
It's not a good look for the Jags.
Not
but
at
if
all.
you're the Eagles or you're the Eagles fans waking up this morning,
Hungry.
You're hungry.
We hungry.
And you smell blood in the
Yes,
water.
we
There's
do.
something dysfunctional going on the other side, and they're, they haven't been overlooked since last year.
Right.
Maybe this is the chip on their shoulder that they need then to sort of go out and do it in front of a lot of American fans that have made the trip to see them today.
And this is setting up for the perfect win for them right now. It's a team that's going through a lot of distractions. They have a bunch of issues at the quarterback position and other.
That's not a bunch. That's one.
It's a big one.
That's a big one, though.
Yeah.
It's a big one.
It can be dealt with.
It can.
Should have been.
We'll talk more about this, of course, and
yes,
the
we
keys
will.
to the game. We're here at Wembley in London, and a big part of that experience that we did learn about, Kyle, is that tailgating is next level in London.
So many jerseys, Kay, and jerseys of some of the guys on this set, too, out there.
We'll be back right here on NFL.
Reggie
Network.
Bush.
NFL Game Day Kickoff is presented by KFC's Crispy Kernel Sandwich. Try it today in a $5 fill-up.
Live at Wembley Stadium, Leonard Fournette. He is here, the focal point of the offense, but he's not been available. The soft tissue injuries continue to follow the running back. They did trade for Carlos Hyde to help out TJ Yeldon in that backfield. Blake Bortles will start in this one, and that's just some of the unstoppable, dominant performances that we might see. Here's a look back at those dominant performances in Week 7.
Unstoppable, presented by Courtyard by Marriott.
Here we go. Unstoppable.
Driving. Oh, my. How big is that? Dominating this game. My goodness. Phenomenal.
Caught. Touchdown.
Just ended this day with an exclamation mark.
Unbelievable.
They had to get Von Miller in there. He was
they
unstoppable.
did.
So was Aaron Donald. Let's talk about the game that'll be taking place and kicking off at 9:30 a.m. Eastern in London. Jags, Eagles. Who's unstoppable today, Reg?
Ooh, my guys, Carson Wentz, baby. Carson Wentz is going to have a great game today. I can't wait to watch him play. But also, he's going to have a great game because this defense is going through an identity crisis right now. They're trying to figure out who they are. And it seems like since Carson Wentz has been back, all he's been doing is throwing for 300 yards. We were at the Thursday night game that they played against the New York Giants. And one of the questions we talked about is he back to his MVP form from last year? And I remember one throw that he threw where he scrambled to the right and threw it back across his body, back to the left side of the field, which you're not supposed to do as a quarterback. And he did it, and he made that throw. And that's the kind of plays that Carson Wentz loves to make. He can see it every time he steps on the field. He just plays with passion. It seems like he's trying to go for 6 every time he throws a football.
Well, yes, I agree with what you're saying about Carson Wentz, but this Jaguars defensive line primarily must get a pass rush. They must get back there. They cannot allow Carson Wentz to get back there. When you go look at this pass rush, when they let Dak Prescott, they just rushed 4, and Dak Prescott literally from the first half, first 2 quarters, he sat back there. He was very comfortable. He moved the ball down the field. Cole Beasley had 3,000 yards of receiving in that game. They just look like a team that didn't need to trade for Amari Cooper. But this is a team, the Dallas Cowboys are a team that you don't expect that from. And why? Because the lack of pass rush. This is a team that we already believed had that great defense. The issue was, can their offense keep up with the defense? And now they're just in a world of trouble. Winning and losing the game is in 3 phases: offense, special team, and defense. Offense is not very good. special teams is average, and the defense is not looking like that top two defense that we have been accustomed to seeing and already looked forward to, already thrown in them as the team to beat in this year, and they're not that team.
Few rookie corners, no A.J. Boye, Jalen Ramsey is out there, of course, but those guys might be unstoppable. If Wentz is going to have a great day, it might be because of this guy, Zach Ertz, his big target in the red zone.
Play, man.
We'll get to see it in a couple of hours here at Wembley. Zach Ertz, impressive. Looks pretty good. We'll be back.
Good. Very impressive.
Looks good.
Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
That's how you come to work.
Coming up on NFL Game Day Kickoff. Is Blake Bortles' starting job on the line in London?
Doesn't matter who the quarterback is, it's going to be tough.
Meanwhile, on the other side of the ball, a team built on defense, not living up to its identity. What will it take for Saxonville to resurface today? And last season's high-flying offense has come down to earth.
There is no minimizing the pain of this defeat.
Will Wentz and company spread their wings against the Jaguars? Right here on NFL Game Day Kickoff, presented by KFC.
Oh, my name, are you ready?
NFL Game Day Kickoff is brought to you by Verizon. The best unlimited is on Verizon, America's most awarded network.
A little over 2 hours from kickoff, Wembley Stadium sold out in one day for this game. Lots of excitement for football here in London. Over the course of 7 seasons in the NFL, Julius Thomas caught 36 touchdown passes, not the least of which was Peyton Manning's record 500th scoring toss in Denver. But earlier this year, he walked away from the game in the pursuit of a way to give back to the men with whom he played.
Bortles looks, fires. That ball is caught. Julius Thomas, touchdown Jacksonville.
The thing I enjoyed most about my NFL career was definitely catching the football.
Manning throws to the end zone. Julius Thomas, touchdown Julius Thomas.
Throwing that ball, touch your hands, and getting to make a play for your team.
Bortles looks into the end zone for Julius Thomas, who makes a leaping effort. Touchdown Jacksonville.
It'll always be one of the best experiences I've ever had. This spring, I made the decision to not continue playing football. I was just really looking forward to growing intellectually. I spent so much time building my body, preparing my body, and now I'm doing those same things, but for my mind. I was interested in psychology. It had a lot of answers for the things that I was experiencing internally. Football players and professional athletes as a whole are really struggling with a lot of stressors. And it comes from all angles, and I didn't always know how to handle those the right way.
So that we can contrast the HPA access with the fight or flight response, and what was the major difference?
I thought, if I'm suffering at times, there's probably a lot of other people that are suffering as well, and who can they go to talk to? There's a lot of functions that are going on at the nano level that we didn't understand before. I decided to get my doctorate in psychology so that I can help guys better understand what they're going through and ultimately allow them to have the quality of life that I want to see. In the last couple of years of my career, I always heard the same message: hey, stop thinking so much. And now I'm in an environment where they're saying, keep thinking. We want to know more about what you're thinking. Sometimes I say, should you have done this? It might be okay for you to just sit home, man. Why would you go put yourself through another rigorous battle, and not of the body, but of the mind? When you're old and you're in that rocking chair and all you can think about is how you helped other people have improved quality of life, that's how you have sustained happiness throughout your life. And every morning I wake up and I start with the same thought: do everything you can today to help people.
Incredible, inspiring stuff. And earning his PhD in psychology will be a 6-year commitment for Julius Thomas. He says he currently has no specific ideas for life after school, just that he wants to help people better understand brain health and live better lives. Let's welcome in Colleen Wolfe and the Good Morning Football crew. They'll be with us all morning long. They're holding it down there on the East Coast. Hey, Colleen.
Hey, Kay, thank you so much. Well, some terrible news coming out here in the United States over the last 24 hours. 11 people killed and several others wounded in a shooting Saturday morning in a Pittsburgh synagogue. Our thoughts are with the victims, their families, and all of those impacted in the community and across the country by this senseless act of violence. It's absolutely appalling. We'll have much more from London right after this.
NFL Game Day.
Fans of both teams well represented here in London. Last season, while the Eagles were in the midst of a championship run, one of their most passionate fans went viral. Meet Jigar Desai. He's a husband, a father of 2, and a diehard Philly fan whose claim to fame you may remember.
This viral clip of the Pillar Guy was watched millions of times, appearing on late-night talk shows and media outlets worldwide. My name is Matt Liston. We're going to be celebrating Jigar Desai, also known as the Pillar Guy. Let me ask you this. Yeah. I gotta ask you this. Do you know what pillar you hit? Like, if you take me to that,
yes.
Could you show me?
I can show it to you. I can show it to you.
While I was meeting with Jigar, he had no idea that across town, people were gathering at a subway station, preparing for his celebrations. But this time, instead of running toward a pillar, I couldn't wait to walk into one.
Oh, it's over there.
You have your pillar mark in your honor.
Fantastic.
So listen,
wow.
The NFL wants to deliver something to you. We'd like to send you to London to go watch your beloved.
Not what I was expecting. You know what, Matt? Nothing's going to hit you harder than life. Not about how hard you can hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward.
That's right.
Philly strong, baby.
That's right.
Philly strong.
That's right. That's right. I love it. I love it.
All the feels. Time for an NFL London game update presented by On Location Experiences. As you saw there, Jigar, his entire family, they are here. And Kyle tracked him down, as you can see.
You made a poor decision running into the pillar, or the greatest decision of all time. This decision has brought you to London, my friend.
That is true.
How about this? There's something very Philadelphia about a man who runs into a concrete pillar and refuses to stay down, gets on his feet, and now here you are, you've gone international. How's it feel?
It feels, I'm super, super humbled. It feels amazing. I'd like to thank the NFL and the Philadelphia Eagles for sending my entire family here. It's been awesome. And, you know, true to Rocky form, it's not about how hard you can hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. Hey. And that's how winning is done, baby. Woo!
So here's a fantastic nugget for everybody at home. You're seeing this man does have a family. Someone married this man. Every Rocky has to have an Adrian. And that would be the wonderful Nima Desai over here. How are you, Nima?
I'm good, thank you.
One simple question. The love of your life, your partner for life, your husband, you see him on the internet running into the concrete pillar. What do you think?
Yeah, I was just happy he's alive. And I was probably the last one who found out because it had gone around the world, I think. Yeah.
And he got home and said, yo, Nima, we did it. And you really did do it.
We did it.
We're trying to get the Eagles off the mat. As the guy who picked himself up off the subway platform, can they get up from 3 and 4?
Look, they can get up from 3 and 4, but it's got to start today. I mean, like all these 17-point leads and you know that they've been giving up fourth quarter. The defense got to show up, offense got to show up. We got to play a full 60 minutes. I think they take care of business tonight, and this is the tipping point. And we start, you know, they'll play like the defending Super Bowl champions.
So there's Rocky Balboa, the Broad Street Bullies, Hall & Oates, Will Smith, Kevin Hart, Nick Foles, the 2017 Eagles, and this legend right here, Jigar Desai. We say Philly, Philly, but we actually say for the pillar,
Pilly, Pilly.
Everybody say Pilly, Pilly.
Pilly, Pilly.
P-I-L-L-E-S, Eagles. P-I-L-L-A-R, pillar. Another Philadelphia legend here in London. Go Birds.
Go Birds. Woo!
Jigger and Nick Foles and Kevin Hart. And, of course, this guy, Carson Wentz, one of the first guys into the stadium this morning at Wembley in London, looking to turn his team's fortunes around. Listen, Kyle mentions everybody, Colleen, and he doesn't mention the single greatest person out of Philadelphia ever, and that's you.
Oh, why, thank you. Garofalo. He was born in Philadelphia. Nobody ever remembers that, though. Yes, thank you, Kay. I'm here with Mike Garofalo and Michael Robinson. We're getting you ready for the game today, and what a sweet jacket Kyle Brandt had on, by the way. But let's get Ian Rappaport in here. His jacket isn't as sweet as Kyle's, but it's nice today, Ian. You have the latest news around the league, but let's start in Cleveland. Now, the Browns, they are better than they were last year. 2-4, though, isn't great. So are you expecting or hearing about any possible changes there with the Browns?
Colleen, my understanding is change is coming for the Cleveland Browns if some of the dysfunction, particularly on the offensive side of the ball, does not get fixed. And this actually all came to a head this week over the public debate regarding play calling. Was Hugh Jackson, the head coach, going to take over play calling or become more involved in the offense? That is something that was publicly discussed, and inside the building it was discussed as well, as they tried to get a handle on where's the dysfunction coming from, how do they move forward, and they do believe they're heading in the right direction here. But if they do not, there's a couple different ways the team could go. Obviously, Hugh Jackson, the head coach, a 3-35-1 record, certainly has received a lot of scrutiny, but so has offensive coordinator Todd Haley, and there are a lot of questions about his role when Hugh Jackson speaks. Does Todd Haley follow? Is he, in fact, working in the best interest of the team? Change is expected to come, Colleen, if things do not get fixed, but there is a possibility that Haley will be involved in those changes, and they could have a new offensive coordinator. So obviously stay tuned for that. But as one team source told me, Colleen, man, we just need a win.
Wow, that is something definitely to monitor today as Todd Haley takes on his old team today, as you can see on this board. And Ian, we'll talk to you in a little bit. Here are some of the notable games today. Of course, big week for the Browns, as Ian just said. Obviously, the Eagles and Jags getting things started this morning. And look, we have the Rams looking to keep rolling against Aaron Rodgers and the Packers Sunday night. I can't wait for Vikings and Saints. That's going to be a great one. You guys remember how that last one ended?
Yep.
Time to see who's ready for the game, presented by Wrangler, and something tells me Marcus Williams is going to be ready for this.
He better be.
Today. But Rob, who else is going to be ready?
I think Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield has to be ready. You heard Ian's report about the dysfunction going on offensively. They have to score points. You look at the Pittsburgh Steelers defense. They're allowing 26 points a game and over 280 passing yards a game. Baker Mayfield, he has looked okay. He's still a rookie. He's looked okay. I think the play calling can help him out, but he is getting the ball to the playmakers when they're open. But Baker Mayfield, you're up. Let's get ready.
That's interesting. You say when they're open. Those receivers, they have to get open.
Absolutely.
I'm looking at Ravens defensive coordinator Wink Martindale and regular viewers of Good Morning Football Weekend. What's up, regular viewers? They know we do a segment on Saturday, Who Said That, where we guess who said some notable quotes. He spoke to the media earlier this week, and he said, remember when you were in like 5th or 6th grade, the guy that had the beard and drove to the game? That's Cam Newton as an NFL player. He was saying, then he had a great one. He says, I joked with my wife and said, I've been watching scary movies all week getting ready for Halloween. He's watching Cam Newton's game tape. Okay? Now, we talked last week, the Ravens are a really good second-half defensive team, and then they gave up 17 points in the fourth quarter. I jinxed them last week. My bad. 17 in the fourth quarter. Oh, that's what the Carolina Panthers overcame last week. So I'm looking at this game, and I'm looking how Martindale and his smart defense, they are a smart defense, going to match up with Cam Newton and the Panthers, particularly in the back half of this game.
Well, I'm also looking at a defense in this one coming up. We mentioned it already. The Vikings and the Saints. Yes. That game, the Vikings secondary, they got to be ready for Drew Brees. 220 attempts or passes right now. 0 interceptions.
That's crazy.
He is on fire right now. He's completing 77% of his passes, Drew Brees. And this Vikings secondary is really banged up right now. They already had Mike Hughes on IR. Andrew Sendejo, he's out. Xavier Rhodes, he's he's questionable today. So they're going to be relying on their rookie. They're going to be relying on a guy that we talked about yesterday, George Iloka, the safety. Well. So we'll see how that matches up. I mean, Drew Brees, get ready, Vikings secondary. So speaking of being ready, NFL Network, we got you ready all day. We've got the halftime and post-game show here after Eagles and Jaguars. Game Day Live, get you caught up with all the action all afternoon. Game Day highlights at 7:30, and Carissa, Shannon, LT, and Dion break everything down at 11:30 on Game Day Prime. The Royal Guard. The Eagles, they're ready.
I like that. I get it.
Look at this. I know. That looks like the guys last week. Was it last week when Irv and Mooch and then dressed up as the Queen's Guard? That's awesome. Blake Bortles, hopefully he's ready after being benched last week. More after this.
Want to stay up to date? Hey Siri, show me the football schedule.
Welcome back to NFL Game Day Kickoff, presented by KFC. We are in London. Well, look who we have here. Peter Schrager will be working the sidelines in this one. Kyle Brandt, our Good Morning Football crew. I mean, it was love at first pint, love at first pie here in London. It's been amazing.
We're in Wembley. I think we're listening to a little Coldplay. It's got a lot worse than that, right?
It's perfect.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
It's been an amazing week, Kay. We've been here for 7 days now. And last week, we got to go to that Chargers-Titans game, and walking into the building, seeing all the American fans, but also all the European fans that support the NFL has been so overwhelming. I heard a great story.
What do you got?
A great story. A Jaguars fan told me that this morning. Goes on a boat tour of the River Thames, walks onto the boat, and the first second he's on this beautiful river with all this history. Fly, Eagles, fly! The whole boat tour right down the River Thames.
Not Parliament, not the Globe Theater.
Love that.
Fly, Eagles, fly.
The NFL has arrived.
We have been holding it down across the pond all week long, and we have officially fallen in love with the city. Let's take a look back at the week that was.
Wow, what a shot.
Well, we got Trafalgar Square. As always, our favorite law in the NFL, tie law.
Not a bad first effort at all.
You know what? Nate's talking rubbish again. Talking about who the best receiver in the game was. It ain't Nate.
Home to the classic, very British high tea.
We did a romantic scene. I tried to kiss Peter. We're on a boat. Disc is broken.
Mine's already off.
I have sloped shoulders, as you notice. Hey guys, how's it going? Are you, everything okay here?
Okay. Come on. All right. Got some highlights.
Yeah.
You play to win the game.
This is easy. That's it. Anything else? Anything else? You look a little bit like Andy Reid. Have you heard that before?
I've been told that before, but my moustache is better.
Hey, give me the fingers, Trace. Give me the fingers.
Oh! He means business, guys.
Don't ever tell me how that's made, but that is good.
Let's do this, baby! So long life. Bravo! Bravo! Thank you. Thank you. On behalf of all of us, the cast. Come on, bring it in, everybody. Bring it in. And down.
So much fun on River Thames in London. Kyle, we're both probably 15 pounds heavier, but what was your favorite moment?
Yeah, sorry, not sorry for the accents, I guess. Guys, earlier this year, I got to go to the Philadelphia Eagles Super Bowl parade in downtown Philadelphia. It was hysteria, one of the coolest things I've ever done. The only thing that sort of compares to that was Friday night. I walked into an Eagles pub here in London, and they picked me up, and I crowd surfed, and it was absolutely nuts. Ron Jaworski is their Winston Churchill. I mean, it is so unbelievable, the atmosphere. I've always watched London NFL from afar. Now being here in the eye of the storm, it was one of the coolest things of my life. Fly, Eagles, fly. This is South Street East over here.
Yes, I love that. I loved the Bohemian Rhapsody purple carpet, the premiere the four of us on Good Morning Football were invited to, the vibe there, and really just running into fans of the Eagles, of the JAX, of the Patriots. Here who are so knowledgeable. They know the nitty-gritty. All of them know so much about the game, and I love that. And, of course, having afternoon tea with Telvin Smith.
Oh, yes.
not bad. Not bad at all.
Is this the real life? Is this just fantasy? Freddie said it best.
I have a feeling we're going to see a lot of not New Jerseys in the audience. Here's Doug Marrone, of course, hanging out. And, you know, Jalen Ramsey, we haven't talked enough about him, honestly, leading into this game. Doug Marrone getting set for this game. We've got Ramsey jerseys everywhere. We got the Wentz on the other side. It'll be an epic battle at Wembley.
20 land. In the game. Quiet. Y'all gonna be quiet. That's on the day. That's on the day. You're not strong enough. That's on me though. I can't even get relaxed. Hey, you can't with me, bro. Hey, bro. Hey, we gotta play with that swag. It's on us. Big time players. Big time games.
Thursday. Time for the bucket list, presented by KFC.
Their way to Wembley. This game sold out in 35 minutes. It took less than an hour to sell this thing out between the Jags and the Eagles. Tailgating is happening in true NFL fashion. Jalen Ramsey probably, listen, we got to talk about him. He doesn't like your quarterback, most likely. Carson Wentz excluded, though. He's one of the few Ramsey has sort of spared in his past to begin a wild start to his career.
Jalen Ramsey unloaded on NFL quarterbacks and tells us what he really thinks. Joe Flacco sucks. Matt Ryan, overrated. Roethlisberger, decent at best.
Stop talking and play football.
But he's betting on himself. I like it.
We're saying we're great. Act like you're great.
As long as he's out there doing his thing, keep talking, young man. Keep talking.
You can't with me, bro.
This is somebody that's highly emotional. This is how he plays. He thrives on that.
Get on the go. You better believe it. You're not strong enough. I'm telling you, you don't know the problem.
We need a trash talker.
My play is what really gets people talking. If you want smoke, it'll get there.
Jaguars with some trouble on defense? What?
We taking L's and we got to figure it out. But we don't, I don't know. I don't know what's going on.
Is this still the best defense in the NFL?
When you're playing like it.
Jalen Ramsey, one of the most polarizing, compelling stars who we in the media love because, let's be honest, he gives us a good soundbite from here and there. But, Reggie, I got to ask you, if you're a teammate of him, what advice would you give Jalen Ramsey on how he's handling himself in his early career?
Yeah, I would tell Jalen to be humble and to also remember that even though we all play for different football teams, we're all coworkers, right? And just because you've had some early success in your short 3-year career does not give you the opportunity to go out and disrespect another man's grind because you don't know what that man had to do, what he had to overcome to get here. You don't know what sacrifices these guys have made to get here. How many times do we hear about players having to support 3 or 4 families back home? And for a lot of guys, for a lot of players, football has to work out. This is our plan A, B, and C. And I also think that we live in a scary time because I think social media teaches young people to do things just for the likes. You may not necessarily believe in it, but it's like, oh, did you hear what Jalen Ramsey said about Tyreek Hill? Did you hear what he said about so-and-so? And when you do these interviews like that, you're making it about yourself. And there's no I in team in this sport.
No, there isn't. That's a great opportunity to segue into, he's had a short career and has success.
Yeah.
But just because you had a little bit of success, you're talking about guys that, honestly, you haven't even played against.
Right.
They're doing things they've done and doing and traveled and experienced, things you are hoping to pray to do, and you were hoping to pray to do in college to get at this moment, and all of a sudden you forget how you got here.
Yeah.
And I agree, we all co-workers, but there's also a rank and order and a respect in this game. Just because you have success doesn't mean that you can really talk down to other guys. And here's the part that I dislike about it all. It's not the confidence.
Yeah.
It's the fact that you're talking about guys that technically you haven't even played against.
Yeah.
And that just comes across ignorant. to be honest. Not saying that he's ignorant, but just ignorant is lack of lack of knowledge and the knowledge of playing against some of these guys.
It's different if he's racking up picks week after week and shutting guys down because he's then backing up what he's saying, but that's not been the case so far this season, Kyle.
Listen, my idol was Deion Sanders growing up, and he would say, water covers 2/3 of the earth, I cover the rest. I loved it. Deion was Defensive Player of the Year. Deion's one of the best players ever. What I worry about Jalen, it becomes more about the talk than the play. We've seen some average corners who do a lot of talking. I want to see him become a great corner and a great talker.
And he has the ability to be that great corner.
You know, Steve.
He can play. He's not a guy that we're talking about saying, oh, be quiet and play. He is an outstanding player. But sometimes you have to, and somebody's watching this saying, oh, really, Steve? Sometimes you'll chirp. But at the end of the day, when you're in between those white lines, you got to lock in and you got to produce. He has the ability to produce. He just needs to talk less and play better because I believe he has the ability to be one of the best corners to play this game right now.
Steve gets me fired up.
How is Big Ben decent?
We'll see how it figures. We can talk about this all day long. We've got a game that will, of course, happen right behind us at Wembley. It's an electric vibe here at Wembley. The fans filling in, thousands and thousands of fans at Wembley in London. Our Good Morning Football Weekend crew is at NFL Films, as always. We'll hand it over to them now. Colleen, take it away.
What's up, Colleen?
Hey, hey, hey. All right, so let's get into Jalen Ramsey a little bit more here. I was actually looking at his numbers. On 35 targets, he's only allowed 18 catches and 226 yards. But the talk that they were just talking about off the field and everything, I mean, some guys sort of have to pump themselves up, and they do it by talking trash. But do you think his behavior sort of works against him?
I think there are times where his behavior does work against him. If the team doesn't necessarily perform the way that he thinks the team should perform, then you get the episodes like we saw a couple weeks ago where he's giving short answers and he really doesn't get respect in the media that particular way. I think Jalen needs to understand he is a leader on this team. And what he says has consequences to the things, what he says has consequences. And what he should be saying are things that are bringing the team together, not creating division, not creating situations where it's going to be harder for them to work. You get what I'm saying? But they do have an issue in this locker room. The offense isn't very good. The offense just isn't very good. I'm just being honest. I mean, I understand his frustration.
Saying it. They're not, you know, we talked about the lack of respect toward the media, and I said it was a lack of respect because if you're not answering questions, you're wasting your time, you're wasting their time, you're wasting everybody's time. But I think that there's something to be said for the fact that he's not talking because I know what he wants to say, and he doesn't want to be disrupted. I feel like he's right on the cusp right now, and they've had conversations with him inside the building to kind of make sure that they keep his head right and they keep this thing from boiling over.
What do you think will happen if they lose today?
I think it might boil over.
But again, they can't be upset. Look, they should have tried to nip some of this stuff that Jalen Ramsey did in the bud a long time ago. What about last year when he tried to guarantee the fact that they're going to win a Super Bowl? You can't all of a sudden now, you know, say it's okay for me to talk my trash and be me when we're winning, but now that we're losing, I'll calm down a little bit.
And walk it back.
Yeah, you can't walk that back now. To me, it's a little bit too late. This is who the guy is.
There is a difference between the trash talk that goes outward toward other guys and the trash talk for the people inside the building.
That is
very
true,
different.
Jeezy.
Yeah, and we saw the Yannick Ngakoue and Calais Campbell trying to hold him back. So obviously a lot is going on right now in that locker room during that three-game losing streak. There's Carson. Oh, there's Steve Mariucci getting the ball from Jordan Matthews. Mooch is going to have the call of the game today. Him, Irv, Kurt. It's going to be great. Rich, we'll be back.
Here we are, born to be kings. We're the princes of the
A pair of 3 and 4 teams desperate for a win have made the trip across the pond and are set to square off live right here on NFL Network. Welcome back to Wembley Stadium.
The JAX versus the Eagles. Let's go.
All week I tried to tell them that the time was coming. Now it's Sunday and we live from London. Philly and Jacksonville, head-to-head match for real. The Eagles champs, but yo, they gotta bring back the skill. The JAX had a cold defense last season, but you can't win now when you in the past thinking it's about time both teams get it. I'm PL, Sunday NFL, we overseas with it.
Welcome to NFL Game Day Kickoff, presented by KFC.
Welcome back to Game Day Kickoff. We are at Wembley. My name is Kay Adams. We, of course, have Reggie Bush and Steve Smith and Kyle Brandt, presented by KFC. Carson Wentz
there he is
in the house trying to turn his team's luck around across the pond. Blake Bortles undefeated at Wembley. He is 3-0. Of course, he got benched last week for Kessler.
Undefeated.
We've got our insights on that coming up right now on NFL Network. Love having Steve Smith and Reggie here. We've got Peter Schrager, of course, on the sidelines as well. You guys are doing an awesome job.
Thank you.
Filling it in, but I know, Kyle, you've been busy like super early this morning.
Oh, yeah. I was out in the parking lot. I was finding the people. I was intermixing with Eagles fans, Jags fans. I'm a man of the people, Kay. I try to get out on these streets.
I mean, should we check out what you've been doing? I hope we do.
Yeah, and so there's, you see the Carson Wentz jersey, you see the Blake Bortles jersey. Let me show you a couple that I found, though. Bring up the first one, ladies and gentlemen, because I love this one.
Let's talk about that.
Right. So it's one thing to find a Reggie Bush Saints jersey. We sold a lot of those, all right? There's a lot of... Show the next one that we found. This one blew my mind here in London because I didn't think there were any of these.
Hey, 2 for 2, baby.
In a Dolphins Reggie Bush jersey. You don't say
two.
So I would ask the British people if anybody has a Reggie Bush 49ers jersey, please send it to us.
Nobody has one of those.
I think they made one for you, Reggie.
I think they
that
just
was
made
it.
one and only for me.
We'll run it. Unbelievable.
Did you plant those?
No.
They're out
here
I
in the
believe you.
streets.
That is an absolute...
Hold on. Did you just ask that he planted? Reggie is international.
Okay.
He's international.
Reggie Dolphins. I didn't think we'd see that, man. I want the Tamsula Niners jersey.
Not alone. Good morning, football weekend crew, of course, at NFL Films, and our very own Peter Schrager working the sidelines. Hey, Peter.
Hey, Kay. How we doing? Look, today for the Eagles, you're talking about Reggie Bush and those jerseys there, but the Eagles fans, they are representing big time, and there's a lot of Eagles fans in the building. And the Eagles last year took a trip to Los Angeles. When they went to Los Angeles, they kind of found themselves. They lost Carson Wentz to injury, but it was a road trip that galvanized them and got them on their journey towards Minneapolis and the Super Bowl. They're looking at this trip to London. It's kind of a road trip to get right. They've lost 3 of their 4 games. They're coming into this one. Families are left behind. All these guys are together. They're bonding, and unlike the Jaguars, these guys were in bed by 11 p.m. They've been having a lot of family time with each other, not out in the town, and they are enjoying their experience. There are injuries all over their roster, but they feel that this trip could be exactly what they need to get right and start the march to Atlanta.
Amazing stuff from Peter Schrager. They're back here. I don't even know where he is. There's somewhere running around.
Where is he?
There's a lot going on at Wembley. Kyle, let's talk about the inconsistency of this Eagles offense, a team that you championed all the way to the Super Bowl last year.
I can't believe Peter's suit, by the way. I didn't know you could pay for suits on Savile Row on layaway. Wow, Peter, that's incredible. You know, all season we've been trying to figure out what's wrong with the Eagles because you see the same guys out there. You see Alshon and you see Carson Wentz. I think it's time to start asking the question about losing John DiFilippo and Frank Reich, and you're seeing the success they're having. I am not going to be in the next Jason Kelce speech about doubting Doug Peterson. The man has a statue, but at times the offense has looked like one. It's time for Doug Peterson to say, I'm not just my producers, I'm not my side band. I am the head coach, and I'll show you why.
Well, when you look at this offense, you look at the injuries that they have sustained. Mike Wallace, a new acquisition. Torrey Smith is in Carolina. Then you have A.J. Ajayi, the running back, he's injured. So they've always had some guys that they can rely on. Now those guys aren't there. And then ultimately, Carson Wentz did not start the beginning of the season. This is technically like he's been through preseason. Now this is the game you can start to see him warm up, get more comfortable. The knee is starting to shake loose. Some of that scar tissue is starting to go away, starting to not hurt you as much. So I think he's ready to go.
You talk about Jay Ajayi not being here. LeGarrette Blount's not here. that run game that was so dominant last year, that run game is not here right now for them. Right now, their run game is ranked 21st. Last year, all season, they were top 3. So they were able to run the football in the fourth quarter. They used LeGarrette Blount to wear teams down, to wear guys down. When they played against the New York Giants, all the talk was about should they trade for Shady McCoy? Should they trade for Le'Veon Bell? If I'm one of those running backs for Philadelphia Eagles, I'm going to take that personal and say, wait a minute, let me show you I can do this. I can't carry that load. I can't fill that void right now. And that's what they're missing right now, is just a dominant run game.
I believe in the sanctity of Super Bowl teams. It has to be a perfect mix of everything going on. Losing Reich, DiFilippo, losing Blunt, losing Trey Burton, a red zone target. It's not the same team that it was last year, but the biggest thing that they're missing this year is that underdog character that led them, that they fed off of. This rather large boulder on their shoulder that, people were believing in them. They were then believing in themselves, celebrating the Super Bowl. Not right now. People are doubting them. Fans, pundits, they finally have that underdog mentality back. We might see it as Carson Wentz warms up on the field behind us. Steve's looking at me, Colleen, and saying, yeah, I know about having a chip on my shoulder.
I was saying you did a great job.
Look at that, Steve. Super complimentary this morning. Thank you, guys. All right, so Ian Rappaport back here with Mike and Mike, and we're going to bring Ian in because Ian never sleeps. This guy's breaking news all the time. He broke some more news late last night. A couple of Jaguars DBs getting in some trouble over in London. So what more can you tell us on that story?
Colleen, my understanding is there were 4 Jaguars players who were involved in an incident a couple nights ago, late night at a club in London. 3 of those players were actually detained, taken to the police station, and then the matter is now resolved. And my understanding is these 4 players involved were Barry Church, the one player who was not arrested, Ronnie Harrison, Jared Wilson, and DJ Hayden. And the more I've dug into this, Colleen, the more it seems like a little bit of a misunderstanding. From what I'm told, the players were being sent some high-end liquor, some champagne to their table at the club. They thought they were receiving it for free. Instead, at the end of the night, they were hit with a massive bill, more than $30,000 in actual dollars. They did not want to pay it, and at that point, a disagreement occurred, and the players were taken in. The Jaguars have released a statement. Unclear at this point if discipline will affect today's game, but obviously we will be monitoring that going forward.
Yeah, something definitely to monitor. Just to note, too, DJ Hayden is the only one of those guys who is inactive today. So
injury-related,
injury there. All right, so also we're only 2 days away from the trade deadline, so we've already seen a lot of action, but might a former Eagle be on the move in the next 48 hours?
If he gets his wish, DeSean Jackson, the Bucs star receiver, will be on the move. I am told by sources he has requested that the organization trade him in advance of Tuesday's deadline. At this point, the Tampa Bay Bucs, who need to win now and clearly are in that mode, do not want to give away a very good player. They have resisted. Now, as far as why DeSean Jackson actually wants to be traded, it's really nothing personal related to him and Jameis Winston. Just the chemistry has not quite been there. With Ryan Fitzpatrick, when he was in, DeSean Jackson was killing it. They had a excellent chemistry. We're clicking on the field. Has not been the same. We will see now if the Bucs continue to rebuff interest from other teams. You mentioned the Eagles. They do very much need a receiver. So clearly we're going to be keeping our eyes on this one.
So Ian just connecting those dots right there.
Ian thinking sweet, man. Look at that, dog. Ian, you can't try to be a teaser. Well, come on, Ian.
Throwing that out there. All right, Mike Robb, where would be a good landing spot for DeSean?
For me, it's the Houston Texans. To me, Will Fuller just went down in the last game. They're the same player. They're guys that stretch the field. They're guys that are big play ability types of guys. And Deshaun Watson has a big arm that can get DeSean Jackson the football. DeSean Jackson leads the league right now with 23 yards per catch. So, to me, it has to be the Houston Texans, Jeezy.
I'm with Ian. Hey.
Of course y'all would be together.
But just because I want to see it, just because it's fun, just because I'd like to see the reaction of the fans. It's funny, he was down there, DeSean Jackson was playing in Philly, I believe it was 2 years ago when he had a big game down there. He had a long touchdown, and he said, it's funny to hear them booing me for so long, and now all of a sudden, I'm coming up, I'm going to be a free agent pretty soon. And now they're cheering me, even though I'm making plays against their team. They would absolutely welcome him back. Ian's right. The Eagles have checked on receivers, particularly receivers with speed that can open up things down the field. He certainly still is that. He still gets that respect from defenses. The problem is you'd have to take on the back half of the $11 million that he's owed this year. He's due to make $10 million next year, non-guaranteed, obviously. So maybe that would drive the compensation down a little bit. The Bucs have resisted, like Ian said, so there's really not a price set at this point. But I would think late round pick you're talking.
How do you think he fits into that wide receiver room?
In that room?
I mean, they won a Super Bowl without a guy of that magnitude.
I understand that, but this is a different team, and now you've got to make a decision for X. That's why I said the Eagles have at least checked on guys who
You mentioned a guy yesterday who is now out of the mix, though, Jeremy Maclin
was a guy that they had been keeping.
Imagine if they brought both of those guys in.
He's out for the year now because he's going to have a procedure. Not a surgery. It's been mentioned. It's a procedure. It's a PRP injection type thing. Anyway, he's off the board now, so trade targets potentially is the only way the Eagles are going to wind up going. So let's see. That'd be fun. I just want to see it.
For to trade for a back.
I'm sure Eagles fans, though, too, they still have that 10 jersey in the closet. Like, just dust it off a little bit, right?
Do you?
It's very convenient. I don't. I'm just saying
you
people
just
out
see
there
it happen.
like have
Philly
it
fans
still.
to my left. Okay.
There's Shad Khan, the Jaguars owner. We're going to hear from him coming up next. He had a chance to catch up with Melissa Stark. And Alshon Jeffrey warming up there on the field. He'll be matched up today, most likely with Jalen Ramsey.
Plenty of Jalen.
Staying matched up. Can't wait to see that.
Coming up on NFL GameDay Kickoff. After a disappointing start to their title defense, is the pressure really off the reigning champs?
Pressure's off, so we can go play, have fun, and just relax.
Meanwhile, after a second-half benching last Sunday,
it's Cody Kessler coming out to quarterback the Jaguars.
How short is Blake Bortles' leash today in London? Answers ahead, right here on NFL GameDay Kickoff, presented by KFC.
My name, are you ready? Champions, my friends, and we'll keep on fighting till the end. We are the champions. We are the champions. No time for losers, 'cause we are the champions.
When Queen gives you access to use their music library, of course you're going to do a We Are the Champions tape. I mean, it pretty much cuts itself.
Talk about it, Kay. Talk about it, Freddie.
Smiles all around as we welcome in our very own Melissa Stark, who's returning to the sidelines at Wembley today. Kickoff, of course, at 9:30 Eastern. Full house of fans. Melissa Stark alongside both of those teams, Melissa. They want to be playing that We Are the Champions song in the locker room post-game. And in a couple hours, we see which team will.
They do, Kay, and there has been so much excitement around this game. I've been here all week, and just the city and the fans loving having the NFL here. I have to say, it almost feels a little bit like a Super Bowl. The NFL has been in London, had games every year since 2007. None bigger than this one. The defending Super Bowl champions, and of course the Jaguars, who were in the AFC Championship game last year. I sat down with Eagles owner Jeff Lurie and Jaguars owner Shad Khan to get their perspective on this game.
We are set to get underway in London.
For us, a big game. Jaguars are a terrific team.
TJ Yeldon, a touchdown catch.
They have a great team, obviously winning the Super Bowl.
The Philadelphia Eagles are Super Bowl champions.
I love it. It's the NFL.
It's a marquee matchup, Eagles-Jaguars. What does it say about the NFL's commitment to international growth?
The key opportunities for growth are outside the U.S. And, obviously I'm delighted the NFL is, looking at those.
The Eagles' first ever game in London.
True.
You must be excited.
I am excited. Get to bring our team to the UK, where there's so many fans, with that first chance to really see the team live. So I'm really excited for that.
TJ walks into the end zone.
We are expecting about 90,000 fans, and
These games sell out fast.
They sell out. I mean, this game, it was less than a day, sold electronically. So that tells you the demand for the tickets. Now, I had a number of people tell me that the Jaguars-Eagles game, other than the Wimbledon men's final, was the most sought-after ticket this year in London. So it kind of tells you, you know, what people, at least over there, the value they put on it.
I think it's probably rare for the series to have two of the Final Four teams from last year. It's something that, you know, the UK fans deserve. We're also going to have an amazing game in Mexico City in a few weeks with the Rams and the Chiefs. We know we've got the most popular sport in America. Let's share it with the rest of the world. The more we can share it, the more people will become avid fans.
What are you most excited for about this game?
I'm excited, you know, to be back there. I'm excited. We're playing the Eagles, and obviously we're hoping for, which everybody does, for a good game.
This is the Jaguars' 6th year in a row playing here. As we mentioned in the piece, it's the Eagles first. So it's really a home away from home for the Jaguars, and they have it down to a science. In fact, they do the opposite of what most teams do. When they arrive on Friday, they have the walkthrough because they know the players will be jet lagged. Then they practice on Saturday. There were so many fans there. But as you've been talking about all morning long, the Jaguars did have that nightclub incident on Friday night. They had no curfew. This is interesting, Kay. The Eagles had an 11 p.m. curfew Friday night. So two very different approaches on that one.
Yeah, different approaches for sure. Melissa Stark, appreciate you. We cannot wait to see you on the sideline for this one right here on NFL Network. Shad Khan, despite some hiccups, wanting that success to continue.
Yeah, it's an incredible piece and great job by Melissa. You know, you think about what Shad Khan has done. This is a man who started in life driving around the United States selling auto parts, like out of his car, like Tommy Boy. And now he is an owner of a team. And I remember Jacksonville, market 32. Boring, tedious Jacksonville teams are relevant. He has made it relevant not only in America, internationally. Say what you want about the Jags, they matter, and it's because of Mr. Khan.
Whether or not they win this game, it's going to depend on the run game. That's going to matter, Kyle. So let's talk about it because they need to get that run game going. Leonard Fournette, the focal point of their offense, injured, will not play, continues to be injured with the hamstring. TJ Yeldon, of course, has 3 receiving touchdowns, second to only James White in the National Football League. So he's catching out the backfield, and they traded last Friday for Carlos Hyde. He will make his debut for Jacksonville at Wembley today. Luckily, I have a pretty good running back to my left, Reggie Bush. Break down how this is going to fit Carlos Hyde, TJ Yeldon, and what do they need to do to get a win here?
I'm just happy I've seen some Reggie Bush jerseys out there in the stands, man.
Reggie, you're international.
I'm still happy about that.
No Bills yet, though.
No Bills jersey yet. We got to get a Bills jersey out here. But listen, I think we might see the most run attempts set by the Jacksonville Jaguars today. Because they know the issue that they have at the quarterback position. I play with Carlos Hyde. I know what he brings to the table. He works hard. He runs hard. He loves to be physical. And that's exactly what the Jacksonville Jaguars needed. And that's why they went out and got a guy like him. TJ Yeldon, again, he's another player that he's as good as the rest of the running backs. So I look for a big run day from all these running backs, and I'm excited for it.
Well, you got to play keep away ball. You don't want to give Carson Wentz the opportunity that Blake Bortles does not present, which is he makes you nervous when he has the ball in his hands. Whether it's a minute left, 30 seconds left, Carson Wentz can do that. Blake Bortles cannot. So what they do is try to run the ball, get some guys in there that can diversify their lack of assets. So Blake Bortles is a liability, and he needs to be able to show. So they need to run the ball, and run the ball.
Diversify.
Early and often.
Early, often, over and over. We all know Doug Marrone so badly does not want to bench Blake Bortles. He doesn't want to deal with it. And I think this is part of the reason this is such an exciting time in the NFL, because before this trade deadline, it's shopping time. It's go out and buy something, and you do not bring in Carlos Hyde unless you're going to use him and use him. It's like when Reggie went to Harrods yesterday and bought that $20,000 coat. If you buy that, you're going to wear it.
He went in for one jacket.
Look at the bear.
We got Paddington.
He went in with one jacket. He came out with 10 bags. shopping season. His wife said, "What about me?" He said, "What about you?" She went shopping the day before. What you mean?
Carlos Hyde is averaging over 20 touches a game so far this season. This is a guy who can tote the rock really on every down. And you played with him, I know that, but we're looking for that battering ram. And I love the fact that he'll try to keep Carson Wentz off the field. All of that is going to play hugely here on the field behind us at Wembley. Okay, for the 6th season, the Jacksonville Jags are in London. Jacksonville's Pro Bowl linebacker Telvin Smith takes us along for the ride in an exclusive behind-the-scenes look as he prepared and traveled to hallowed Wembley.
The London effect. Is there any strategic advantage that the Jags have?
Just the fact that they have done it. We're the best in the world. Best in the world. I got your back out here, you hear me?
You feel me? Y'all know I had to get right for him. We had to get right going across that water. Here we come. Here we go. I'm fresh now. Man, just got on the bus finna head that way. You feel me? Got them boy. I know. You feel me? That boy Turk. You feel me? Hey. And we'll see how when we get there, man. We're finna take off, man. Just got here to London. Finna take it there. Got 5. We finna take it there. Love. Continuing the tour. About to hop on right now. NFL Network with Miss Stark.
You got to get your swagger back.
Swagger is like sauce. You don't never lose sauce. You just, got to dap into it a little bit and get deep in it.
I don't care who you are or how much jet lag or sleep deprivation you've experienced over the last couple days. You got to be jacked up and ready to go in this game.
Monster personality, monster player on the field.
Unbelievable talent. Guy that can play. He, at the linebacker position, he can play sideline to sideline. He's fast. He can hit you. He can also cover you. What he brings to the table, he is a guy, when you talk about this D-line, that doesn't get enough credit, but the offensive players know when he's roaming in that middle area, go a different direction or get off on the other exit because that choo-choo train is coming.
Much more to come from us here at Wembley. Let's send it out to Colleen and the GMFB weekend crew out in Mount Laurel. Hey, guys.
Thank you, Kay. So, yeah, expectations for Telvin Smith and that defense so high after what they did a year ago. Even to start the season, look, they picked up sort of right where they left off, but these last 3 weeks, they've been really tough. You can't put everything on Blake Bortles and the offense. I mean, they've given up 90 points the last 3 weeks, the defense has. And one of the things I just want to run back real quickly on, Melissa Stark mentioned in her report that the Jaguars didn't have a curfew on Friday night. The Eagles had an 11 p.m. one, but the Jags didn't. We all kind of were like, wait, what was that?
I don't understand that one. And again, if this game was in the United States, obviously, Fridays, players have a little bit of off time, but this is an international game. You're trying to set up a way that you're the team here.
Trying to get on schedule,
trying to get on schedule and all of those things.
That's surprising to me. Yeah, it is.
Very surprising.
I wonder if that's going to change next year because we know they're going back. They go every year.
They're going to have a curfew every single day now. Probably.
So this Jags defense, back to them. How much pressure are they under now? Sort of, do you feel like when you look at the offense and the struggles that the offense have had, do you feel like they need to sort of carry the offense?
Well, it's complementary football, and the goal is to win games, right? And I really think this defense, they just can't make matters worse, all right? This offense, to me, should have all the pressure in the world on them. In the last 3 games, they're only averaging 9 points a game. You can't win ball games in this league only scoring 9 points a game, and it just seems like the defense is getting a little bit demoralized.
Well, you're talking about that compliment. And Colleen, you're right. I mean, at some point, there is a little bit of accountability on the defense, but if they were speaking honestly, they'd say, we're having to do too much. We're having to be on the field too much. And that's why we're suffering. We need those guys to pick up some of the slack here. I agree with that to a certain extent, but what you don't want in this situation, you hear it all the time, is defense is now trying to do too much. Well, we got to create turnovers. We have to score the points. That's when you're all out of sorts.
Well, we'll see if that changes today at Wembley against the Eagles. Of course, guys, some terrible news, as we mentioned earlier. earlier in the show, in Pittsburgh over the last 24 hours. 11 people killed, several others wounded in that shooting Saturday morning in the Pittsburgh synagogue. Our thoughts are with the victims and their families, everybody who's been impacted in the community and across the country by this senseless act of violence. Art Rooney issued the following statement this morning. On behalf of the entire Steelers organization, we offer our support and condolences to the families of the attack on peaceful citizens worshiping at the Tree of Life Synagogue. Our hearts are heavy, but we must stand against anti-Semitism and hate crimes of any nature and come together to preserve our values and our community. With that in mind, we will ask everyone to join in a moment of silence and prayer prior to our game this afternoon. Our hearts are going out to everyone affected. It's just absolutely unbelievable to think about the pain and the suffering, and it's all completely senseless. We'll have much more still ahead here leading up to the Eagles and the Jaguars. You just saw Blake Bortles on the field. There's Carson Wentz as they get ready for the big game today at Wembley Stadium.
NFL Game Day Kickoff is presented by KFC's new 10-piece chicken feast.
What was nearly a Super Bowl matchup a season ago is a must-win today as the Eagles and Jags collide live in London.
We coming out swinging. We got something to prove.
Stay locked in, start fast, let's shut them up.
For the goal line, touchdown! Let's go! Nobody can stop him. Wide open for the touchdown! Did he pick it off? Yes, he did.
He's bang ahead. He is sacked.
I came to see the best of them.
Welcome to NFL Game Day Kickoff, presented by Expedia.
The fans are ready. They've been fired up all week. So excited to have this game here in London. Excited for last year's Super Bowl champs, led by Carson Wentz, who's been awesome despite the team's struggles. The last 4 games, 9 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. The other quarterback, not as pretty for Blake Bortles this season. But in London, let's remember, he loves it here. He's won 3 straight at Wembley. Can he recapture some of that magic today? Come on in at Wembley. My name is Kay Adams alongside Reggie Bush and Steve Smith Sr. and Kyle Brandt, of course. Thanks for making the trip with me, gentlemen.
Of course.
Wouldn't miss it, Kay.
I wouldn't miss it.
You're loving London. London's loving you.
I don't want to go home. I love London. I love it. I really, truly do.
Yeah,
and we are here with both of these teams today, trying to make a move past the tough losses from a week ago.
And the Eagles are in trouble. Doesn't look great.
Ball comes loose.
And he missed it. The Eagles blow a 17-0 fourth quarter lead.
Here we go with Jacksonville.
A lot of booze. Sack fumble. Bortles benched. Poor body language now.
Oh my goodness. Nobody would remember they were 3-1. Oh man.
Love it. Eagles, Jags, both with a chance to head into their bye at 500. Reggie, which team will rebound? I'm going to put you on the spot right off the jump here. Who rebounds today?
I got to go with the Philadelphia Eagles, the better football team, the team with the more consistent play at the quarterback. And they're also the Super Bowl defending champs. And when you're the Super Bowl defending champs, that title comes along with tremendous responsibility. Expectations are high. And this team hasn't looked like a championship team so far. And that's one of the reasons why people are asking that question is what happened to the Eagles. But I think this is going to be a great bounce back game for them because they're just a better football team.
I'm going to double down on the Eagles because I've seen how this team responds to pressure. I've seen it. I know this team very, very well, and they've never been under more. Zach Ertz way back in OTAs was talking about there's these teams that win the Super Bowl, then you never hear from them again. We don't want to be that team.
Yeah.
they lose this game, they're going to be that team. And back before we flew over here, I bought this book in the airport. I did a little reading on the plane.
You did.
This is Nick Foles' book. It's called Believe It. He won 6 games and then wrote a book. And I have a favorite passage. Steve, I'd like you to read this passage. My favorite one right there. What do you write?
You're never more dangerous than when everyone counts you out.
That's it. So, Nick, you guys must be the most dangerous team in the world right now because people think you're a one-hit wonder. You want pressure, K? In 6 months, they've gone from world champs to Chumbawamba. Don't do it.
Yep.
And I love you're saying you see how they react when under pressure. The numbers back it up, Kyle. They're 5-1 following losses over the past 2 seasons. You look at the JAX team, and it's not that they've had 3 straight losses and they've been by a field goal or an extra point. It's a 90 to 28 point differential over their 3 losses. They're being blown out game to game. You saw what happened just last week, so I'm going to have to go with the Eagles as well. I feel like they've been missing that underdog mentality that got them to the Super Bowl, got them the Lombardi Trophy, but it could be back with all these doubters that we've heard over the past couple of weeks.
Well, I believe that the Philadelphia Eagles are the team that have bounced back. They have less infighting, but I also believe this game means more to the Jacksonville Jaguars. And I'm going a little bit off script because here's why. I've seen this dance before in Florida. What does it look like? Tony Dungy with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, right? They have a strong defense, but the offense was not very good. That is exactly what the Jacksonville Jaguars are. We know them by their strength of their defense, and we also know them by their pedestrian-like offense led by Blake Bortles. And so what that leads to, if this team doesn't fix it and does not get this in shape, you're looking at now a Blake Bortles who will be gone, and eventually Doug Marrone will be gone, because when we talk about Tom Coughlin, we talk about organization, we talk about accountability, and we talk about discipline. The Jacksonville Jaguars have displayed they have none of that under Doug Marrone and also under quarterback Blake Bortles for $18 million a year.
You got me fired up,
That's
Steve
right,
Smith.
Steve.
Game day kickoff, so much more ahead. And I'm sure this guy on the field are about to joke. Fletcher Cox could use that message you were reading. What was it?
No one can beat us when no one believes in us. You're never more dangerous than when everyone's counting you out, Fletch. Go do it.
Fletcher's listening to you. We'll be right back on Game Day Kickoff right here on NFL Network.
Much more to come from London on NFL Game Day Kickoff. But first, a special look at Fantastic Beasts, The Crimes of Grindelwald, set in J.K. Rowling's Wizarding World. See it in theaters November 16th.
Run game, like a run game.
Game Day Kickoff is presented by Expedia. Everything you need to go.
Shouting in the street, you're gonna take on the world someday. You got blood on your face, a big disgrace, waving your banner all over the place. We will rock you. We will rock you.
Live at Wembley, a live look at Michael Bennett on the field, having a nice conversation. Why can't we close out games? That's what he's saying.
Yeah, that's what he's saying right
what's
now.
the deal? Why can't we do it? Well, we'll give you our take right now on Game Day Kickoff. Sideline reporter for this matchup on the pitch at Wembley is Peter Schrager. Schrags, why can't they close out games?
Okay, it's a question that I posed to Doug Peterson, the head coach of the Eagles, yesterday when I spoke with him, and he said, we're going to be just fine. Remember, that loss to the Titans, a historically bad loss, only to be matched and surpassed by last week's loss against the Carolina Panthers. But they think that this trip to London could be the get-right trip. Let's get out of town, let's bring our fans over here, and let's do it just like they did when they went to LA last year. They played the Rams, and they came back, and they started their Super Bowl in March. They know there's injuries, and there's a big one today. Derek Barnett, their second-year player who was their first-round pick a year ago, Super Bowl hero, he's not going to be on the field. They've got a new guy named Josh Sweat, a 4th-round pick from this year's draft. They're hoping can help close things out. That defense, they come in bruised and battered, and their egos are hurting right now, but they believe that this could be the perfect trip and the perfect cure for their defensive ills.
Awesome stuff from Schrags there. The Eagles blew a 17-point lead last week, and they let Cam and the Panthers sort of sneak away with the win. And the bad part is it wasn't the only time that it's happened to them this season. Reggie, why are they having such an issue here?
Well, you just talked about it. They were up 17-0 in the 4th quarter against the Carolina Panthers, and they threw the ball 13 times and ran it once. So that lack of a run game that they haven't had this year is hurting them. No Jay, he's hurt, he's out. LeGarrette Blount is gone. They're struggling running the football and being efficient, and that's one of the issues why they can't close out these football games, and one of the issues why we're talking about this, why we're having this conversation right now.
They didn't attempt a run play until they were, it was unbelievable. They fell behind 21-17 at that point. You have to run the ball, period.
You got to run the football.
To close out games.
You got to run the football. Whatever.
Whatever. What do you got?
I'm just teasing, messing with Reggie because he's a running back. That's all.
Go for it. What's the issue? Is it the run game or is it something else?
Well, I think one of the biggest issues is their secondary. We know the strength of the D-line, but yet in that game, Cam was doing an extraordinary good job at just picking them apart, sitting in zone. They were sitting in zone coverages, just picking them apart and really evading the rush. There are times he made some great passes getting hit, but how? Guys sitting in those soft zones and those guys in the back end not having communication issues. The same that Jacksonville has had that's killed them who has hurt them over the last couple of weeks as well.
Now, I watch the games every week, and I'm about closing them out. You would think it'd be defense. You think it'd be the pass rush. I just think it's the offense. They're not scoring enough. You can't win a game with 17 points. Cam got out in the fourth quarter.
Not this day and time.
Everybody's putting up 50 points, and Mahomes this and Goff that. They've scored 30 points one time this year, and it was against the terrible Giants. They won a game against the Eagles or against the Falcons with 18. So the reason they gave up the big comebacks, only sitting on 17, they need to score more, and they'll put the game up.
Yeah, you hear Kyle.
Yeah, that's right.
You score more, Kyle. Run the football more.
So
you can close out games.
Right. Nobody want to do. These people that fly all the way out here to watch them run the damn ball.
In the fourth quarter. In the fourth quarter. Oh, they're going to see a lot of that on Jacksonville's Jaguar side.
Listen, it'd be nice if they could hit the quarterback.
They might throw it 5 times.
Out the Super Bowl? Brandon Graham, Tom Brady. Okay. Desperate times here for the Eagles. We need a list.
Desperate times for Jacksonville as well.
No doubt.
Love that. It'll all be taking place behind us at 9:30 Eastern. The crowd already cheering. It is electric out here. We know the Eagles have those issues. We just talked about them. Jacksonville has some issues, of course, on their own. And if they need to get, back on track, they're going to have to fix all of that stuff. And it's been a wild start to the season for the Jags. Take a look.
In Jacksonville, the world is burning right now.
What are the Jags going to do?
I'm baffled. This is a crisis point.
They're a totally different team without Leonard Fournette.
And there's plenty of blame to go around.
A lot of frustration. Blake Bortles is the problem.
6 turnovers by Blake Bortles in the past 2 weeks.
There ain't no secret what's going on. It ain't right.
They're broken.
They're not getting pressure up front. They're not getting the takeaways.
Not putting the physicality we're used to seeing them play with.
When I'm watching this defense, it's a lack of effort.
This is a troubling time. We need to find some answers and fast.
Everything is still here for the taking. We just got to get back on track.
Back on track is right. No time to waste if they're going to get back on track. Let's welcome back in Colleen and the Good Morning Football Weekend crew. Colleen, take it away. And I wish you were here with me because nobody wants to start the wave. And I just know that if you were here with me at Wembley, you would be that person.
Yep. I got you. You know I got you, Kay. So the Jags defense, they do have some issues. We've talked about it a lot over here on the side of things.
Yeah.
But are those issues fixable? Are those problems, can they be turned around?
They are fixable. It's not like teams have figured anything out here. And I've seen defenses that lose their swag in the middle of the season.
That's exactly
and they get it back. And a lot of times it's by simplifying things. But I don't think it's a schematic thing. I think it's a mental thing with this team. We've talked about how the offensive side of the ball hasn't picked up things. So it can happen like that. It can happen for a defense, a flick of a switch. But it's got to happen. And somebody's got to start it. I know Calais Campbell is trying, but he's not getting through right now.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Jeezy. I mean, they're top 10 in almost every defensive category with the exception of rush defense. They're allowing 122 yards, and they haven't been able to get after quarterbacks. They don't have the sacks that they had last year. Every issue with this Jacksonville Jaguars defense is all mental. It is, and I think that maybe they're looking across on the offense and thinking that maybe they're not getting the support, so they're kind of letting their guard down a little bit. But they have to get it right. This team has to have pride about their defense. I know I was a part of a Seahawks team that was led by a defense, and they had swag about them. Yeah, they had swag about them, and when we didn't score, they let us know about it. It was plenty of half times. Richard Sherman, Michael Bennett would come in, and they would literally stand around the office like, "What are y'all doing?
Really?
What are y'all doing?" And
what do you say? Humming.
I loved it. I loved it because it was accountability. They didn't go out and say anything in the media or anything like that. It was all in house, and we felt like we owed our defense something, and so the pressure was on us offensively.
Yeah, I think too they really missed just a pinpoint 3.1 spot, DJ Hayden, their slot corner. That has been such a weakness for them since he's been out.
Beasley ate him up in the slot weeks ago.
Cole Beasley went nuts. So Nelson Aguilar, he could have a big game today because
they need to start throwing the ball down the field.
That's, I mean,
and Doug Peterson was asked about that this week. He took a little bit of accountability. Said sometimes it's with the play call, and when he is going down the field, the ball's going elsewhere because it's Alshon Jeffrey or Zach Ertz. Zach Ertz is on pace for like 180 targets or something.
He's their best receiver.
Yeah.
And they know that. They'd like to spread the ball around a little bit more, but they've got to find ways to do it, and the ball's got to get there, too.
And listen, just for the record, because we've talked so much Jaguars on this side, I just want to let everybody know.
Oh, you got a jacket?
Me and Mike Robb both picked the Eagles for this game. Oh, it snapped. What's happening here? It's fine. I will fight through this.
Hogan right here.
So, yeah, we both picked the Eagles, so I'm going to make sure that everybody out there knows
that's not the official London jacket. They got London jackets that came to the team. They had the skyline in there and the British flag. We'll see if we can get you one. You look great.
But you guys know out there. All right. Hey, it's a great green, right? Okay, so here we go. No issues in London. They got the tailgating down. They've got everything down before this game. Food looks pretty good there. I wonder what
Fish and
going
chips.
on. Do you think it's a Scotch egg, everybody?
You love the Scotch egg. You need to sign a deal with the Scotch egg.
Zach Ertz, he's been eating all year. More receptions than any tight end in NFL history.
Targets.
Through 7 games. Only Adam Thielen has more catches this year.
He's good.
Yeah, he is really good.
NFL Game Day Kickoff is brought to you by Verizon. The best unlimited is on Verizon, America's most awarded network.
I'm just a poor boy, nobody loves me. He's just a poor boy from a poor family, sparing his life from this monstrosity.
Wentz looking, firing for the end zone, touchdown, Zach Ertz, Alshon Jeffrey again.
So you think you can stop me and spit my
I think there's tears in Kyle Brent's eyes right now. That was absolutely beautiful. And so is this. The fans just coming in full force. Thousands of them. Time now for the Bud Knight presents Bud Light Nights. Ooh, that was a mouthful. Love this. Steve, who's going to step up for the Eagles today?
Who's going to step up? I got Wendell Smallwood. He's a guy. He's getting his opportunity. He can catch the ball out of the backfield. He can run downhill, too. He's elusive, kind of like me.
Bottom line.
You guys said this team has had some trouble scoring. How about you throw it to this guy, Zach Ertz? He's got 9 or more catches, 100 or more yards in 3 of his last 4 games. A red zone target, a big guy. Throw it to Zach Ertz today, Carson. Just do it.
What about throwing it to Alshon Jeffrey? This is one of Carson Wentz's favorite targets. Big body receiver, great hands, made some great catches in the Super Bowl last year. I'm looking forward to a big performance out of him today.
Let's get to that lead singer. Give me the Freddie Mercury, Carson Wentz. He's got a dog named Henley. He's got a food truck called Thy Kingdom Crumb, and he has no fear of Jalen Ramsey. He said this week he will be aware of where he is on the field, but not afraid of him because he's confident his #1 guy, Alshon, as well he should be.
Despite what's happened recently, this JAX defense is certainly no pushover. But Carson Wentz has to be happy. You won't have to see A.J. Boye out there today. A big loss in that secondary. Quentin Meeks expected to make his first career start in his place today. Tyler Patman, DJ Hayden, they're also out. That secondary, guys, yikes. Whoa, looking pretty thin for today's matchup at Wembley. How is Carson Wentz and this offense and those weapons, how will they exploit Jacksonville's banged-up corner? Steve, I'm looking at you, and I'm thinking it's in the slot. Nelson Aguilar has been up and down this season, but we know his potential. He had 8 touchdowns last year, just under 800 yards. And you got to think Alshon Jeffrey is going to be hanging out with Jalen Ramsey, so Nelson Aguilar could have a day.
Well, first of all, Nelson Aguilar has not been up and down this year. When you talk about coming out of USC, what he had to do and what he did not do, he's playing up to his potential. He is being used well in the slot. He's, I think, one of the young up-and-coming guys who you can depend on, kind of like a Donald Driver was, reliable, dependable, and runs great routes.
should have a great game today.
He should have a great game.
Attack the slot.
Because here, I hate to say it this way, but I saw a guy, it's a unicorn, out in Jacksonville secondary, number 22, Davis.
What about
He was a unicorn. I ain't never seen one of those in the secondary.
You never seen a guy number 22?
He was different. He was different.
Did he look like me?
He looked just like you. Let me tell you something. When I see somebody looking like you, Kyle, lined up in the slot.
Go on.
Man, I could be 56 years old and I can still play.
Steve.
I'm the
Line
kicker.
me
Go to work. Listen, we know the Jaguars secondary has a big task in front of them.
Yeah.
Or a big tab, as it were.
Already with the jokes.
I will say this, though, Kate. You
Too
hit
soon.
Zach Ertz.
soon,
Zach Ertz is unstoppable with all these offensive struggles that the Eagles have had this year, if you want to even call him that. Ertz has been consistent. He's been so good, and I still feel like we haven't had the massive breakout game from the Rook, Goddard. I love those two dudes, especially going against the Unicorn, right, Steve? He's doing pixie dust on me.
If there's a weakness in this Jags defense, it's in the slot. That's where I think they attack. That's why I really think Nelson Aguilar, for you fantasy owners out there setting your lineup, get him in there. You look at Cole Beasley, had over 100 yards and 2 touchdowns for the Dallas Cowboys when facing this defense. No Boye, no problem. I'm just saying Nelson Aguilar should have a day.
All right. They've been getting outscored 90-28 in the last 3 games. That is a ton of points. This defense is not holding up the end of the bargain.
But I got something else. I got something else for you.
What do you got?
On.
Because we got here early, and I observed. We talking about Blake Bortles.
Yeah.
Those guys were working out. Cody Kessler was working out on the field. What I believe, Daniel Hackett was orchestrating specific plays and certain things. Generally, when a guy gets hurt, and they say, "Oh, they're going to work him out before the game."
Yeah.
They were doing the same thing. I can tell you this right now.
Ready for him to go in the game.
Blake Bortles come out there BSing. Hey, son. Sit down.
He's up. He's up.
He's up. Give me the right-hander.
At least it'll light a fire over
Hit that wild thing music. Hit that wild thing music and get it going.
Ricky Vaughn, Cody Kessler's Ricky Vaughn.
We'll be right back with Kyle Brandt. We'll be back with Reggie Bush, the GMFB weekend crew as well. Melissa Stark, Peter Strager on the sideline, and so many thousands of fans at Wembley Stadium live in London. Kickoff is right around the corner as the 3-4 Eagles meet the 3-4 Jaguars, 2 teams with high expectations entering the season, now in must-win mode across the pond.
NFL Game Day Kickoff, presented by Expedia. Everything you need to go.
Live from London, the Jaguars taking on the defending champs, both in desperate need of a win. Who will turn their season around today on NFL Network?
Buddy, you're a boy, make the big noise, playing in the street, gonna be a big man someday. You got mud on your face, you big disgrace, kicking your can all over the place, singing, we will rock you. We will rock you.
Welcome to NFL Game Day Kickoff, presented by Expedia.
Welcome to Wembley Stadium, where Carson Wentz is looking to get the Eagles back to 500 today and potentially save their season. Then, of course, there's Blake Bortles benched in the second half today. Last week was starting today. How long will the Jags roll with their signal caller today with the season on the line? Welcome to NFL Game Day Kickoff, presented by Expedia. I'm Kay Adams alongside Reggie Bush.
Hello.
Steve Smith Sr.
I'm here.
Dancing to some We Will Rock You Queen action in the break. And, of course, Kyle Brandt.
Hello.
Yes, we are so excited to be here in
British?
London.
Is that your British accent?
That was a little Australian. I'm not going to lie to you.
How are you, Kay, in the UK?
I'm wonderful. It's a little chilly out here, but perfect football weather for a really important matchup on both sides of the ball. The city, it's been buzzing all week. We have the defending Super Bowl champs taking on the runner-up in the AFC. Both teams desperate for a win. The Super Bowl champs come to London having lost 3 of the last 4. I mean, their run game has been practically non-existent. The defense isn't holding leads. And speaking of defense, what happened to these Jaguars? 3 straight losses. They gave up 40 to the Cowboys, and it got so bad that Cody Kessler made an appearance, playing the entire second half for this team last week. And to further the matter, Jaguars defensive backs Barry Church, Ronnie Harrison, DJ Hayden, and Jared Wilson were out at a London nightclub on Friday, and there was a dispute over a bar tab. The players were detained, no charges filed, and the bill was eventually resolved. Here's a statement from the Jaguars this morning. We are aware that our players, 4 of them, were detained over restitution of a bill. The matter is being resolved, and the players are with the team. Any discipline will be handled internally. Reggie, any discipline resulting from that incident is going to come from the team. Obviously, when they get back to Jacksonville from London, they are 3-4.
Yeah.
This is a team fighting for their season today. What were these 4 dudes doing at a club Friday night?
I don't have an issue with players going out. I think it's good for guys sometimes to get away from football. But when you go out and it becomes a distraction, that's the issue. When you have a players-only meeting the week of talking about any further distractions, you try to kind of hit the reset button and that refocus button, and then you have this happen. That's the issue. This is about a must-win game as it ever can be for the Jacksonville Jaguars right now, and you can't afford these kind of mistakes.
Yeah, they had a players-only meeting, and then you also go and say, hey, we got to be accountable. We got to play better. We have to do this. What does that lead to? Professionalism. Be professional. You're going on a business trip. But also, too, one of the things you need to be careful of, those 4 guys that were detained, not arrested, detained, they weren't by themselves. It was a number of other players as well. But those are the guys who last were stuck with the bill, and that was at 36,000. Wow. Woo! You can't drink and run.
Reggie's outfit costed for
about
today.
Reggie's coat. I was very amused by the way Ian Rappaport explained it. He said the players thought they were being given the stuff for free, and then said, "Oh no, we got to pay for it." We can all relate to that. It's the dog ate my homework of liquor bar tabs thing. The good news is the Jags win this game. The story goes away. They're at the bye week. Poof, it's gone. So more pressure to win it.
Some other good news. Jalen Ramsey was not, in fact, at the club or part of that incident involved on Friday night. The cornerback talked a big game all offseason long about everybody to everybody, but the swagger has all but disappeared. Will he and those Jags get back on track today? Stay tuned. We're counting down kickoff after this.
NFL Game Day Kickoff is presented by Expedia. Everything you need to go.
We're counting down to kickoff between the Eagles and the Jags. Rich Eisen and the Game Day Morning guys will have the call, so let's check in with the first 4-man NFL booth. Rich, welcome in. You guys look awesome.
Cheerio, Kay. Thanks very much. Appreciate it. We're all up here in the gantry, as they call it, in Wembley, and as if there's not enough drama between these 2, 3, and 4 teams. Kurt Warner, we have a quarterback coming back from a benching in Blake Bortles. How do you expect him to react to this today?
Well, and I tell you what, Rich, there's a lot of talent on that Jacksonville team, but it's safe to say that team goes as Blake Bortles goes. So if I'm a Jags fan, I'm sitting here going, which Blake Bortles am I going to see? We've seen some extreme highs and some extreme lows from him this year, but the good news, right, when he's been over here in Wembley the last 3 times, 8 touchdowns, just 1 interception, and the most important stat is the Jags are 3-0.
All right, the guy that I can't wait to watch is Zach Ertz, the tight end of the Eagles. Mike, he's got more catches than anybody in the league other than Adam Thielen. Boy, is he rhythming up with Carson Wentz. Let me show you some of the plays. They move him all over the place. He'd be in a 2-point stance and a 3-point stance. Here he's got a basic cross. He's going to sit down against zone and run against man while there's 2 linebackers, throw it in the hole, first down. Okay, now he's got a corner up. Watch the adjustment on this play because he feels outside coverage and he says, I can't get out there. I'm going to sit it down, put the brakes on, and turn back inside. Carson Wentz throws him a strike, another big first down. Let's use this guy now in the red zone. All right, he's going to be one-on-one with a heck of a corner, Janoris Jenkins, right here. Watch him. He goes one-on-one. He's going to take a step inside, make Janoris turn his hips inside. Now let's run to the corner. There's a lot of grass out there. This is an easy throw and catch. Piece of cake. Boy, this guy's got more receptions and receiving yards than any tight end in the league by far, Mike.
Hey, I know we're in London, right? But this Sunday morning, Am I the one that's supposed to be doing the XOs?
I just got an XO.
Why is this guy doing the XOs?
And, Coach, you talk about chemistry, and that's what we just saw in that XO, Kurt, is great chemistry. He also has great chemistry with Alshon Jeffrey. But Jalen Ramsey will follow him all over the field today. That's going to be a great battle. We love the battle that's going on, but this is the battle within the battle. These guys played once before. 2016, Alshon had 4 receptions for 73 yards when he was with the Bears. He had Brian Hoyer at quarterback. Brian Hoyer is not Carson Wentz that he will have out here today.
So we are excited for the call. It is Week 8 Sunday, and look at the crowd streaming into Wembley. It's going to be a sold-out crowd for the final London game of the year. Take it back, Kay Adams.
We are so excited to hear that call. Brilliant 4-man booth. We cannot wait. Much more on Blake Bortles still to come. Stephen Reggie will tell us how long the Jaguars should stick with the signal caller. That's next.
Morning.
Back here at historic Wembley Stadium, all eyes will be on Blake Bortles today after being benched last week. And it's safe to say the JAX signal caller is under pressure.
Blake Bortles, he started out great.
Touchdown catch from Blake Bortles.
But now he's settled back into the old Blake Bortles.
Blake Bortles is the answer. Ask another question.
And a miserable day for Blake Bortles, or interception day for Blake.
Don't disrespect Blake like that. I like Blake Bortles. I don't love Blake Bortles.
Listen, Blake Bortles, get your stuff together.
Bortles benched.
Under pressure.
Blake Bortles being under pressure. Really, it's kind of justifiable, gentlemen, completing just over 50% of his passes during his 3-game losing streak and turning the ball over just way too often. Pro Football Focus, yeah, not so kind to Blake Bortles. Among all 32 quarterbacks with 100 snaps since week 5, he has been the worst. Back here, overlooking Wembley, we're here on the field. Reggie, how long of a rope should he have?
Well, apparently he's on a short leash, according to what Coach Doug Marrone has said. And I just don't understand how that is the message to a quarterback who's already lacking in confidence. He doesn't have a ton of weapons around him. The offensive line is depleted. And you somehow think that by telling him that he's on a short leash is going to make him play better. And then people say that, well, he always plays better when his back is against the wall. Okay, well, is that the recipe for success, is that we have to go through this?
I feel like I need to say this in a support group. I'm Kyle, and I believe in Blake Bortles. I really do.
Okay.
I believe in British Blake Bortles. We all have a city or maybe a country we visited that you get there and you're like, I feel like I belong here. I feel like I should have been born here. I think that's England. I think that's London for Blake Bortles. When he leaves the United States, he goes from Mr. Bean to James Bond. I think he's going to have a great day today. Watch.
I hope it doesn't come to that, but even if he struggles again today, you named him the starter for this game. Can you really pull him again? They have a bye week. Both teams do after today's matchup at Wembley. If he struggles today, let him finish the game and figure it out over the bye. That's my opinion, Steve.
All right. Well, trying to figure it out is going to lead to some folks losing their jobs, you know. So when you said he doesn't have any weapons. Well, how about you throw it to some and see if you could do it? You know,
you're right.
You have put this guy in there. You didn't go in the offseason. And all of a sudden, you don't get a backup quarterback. And then also, too, the only way they can be efficient and take some of the heat off Blake Bortles is short passes. Get on schedule. Be precise. But allowing him to just drop back and read the secondary, that is not his forte. Now, it helps when the wide receivers are catching the ball, but short, precise. But if you're talking about at 80, get him on the 20-yard line. He has to drive 80 yards for a game-winning touchdown. Not field goal, touchdown.
Can't do
and Blake Bortles is your guy. He's in trouble. And here's why you're in trouble. Not because Steve Smith says so. It's really about who are the other guys you're playing. Drew Brees, Tom Brady. To be those guys, Carson Wentz, to be those guys, you have to play like those guys, and he doesn't play like it. That's why they were warming up and going through steps with Cody West.
I saw that.
Cody
We all saw.
Kessler.
The thing is, he does play like that in London. Numbers are numbers. He's 3-0, 8 touchdowns, 1 interception. Let's see. I mean, he's the only person that loves London more than I do, frankly. Coming up next is for the Eagles. Their head coach says the pressure is off after a 3-4 start. Off. That is right. Pressure is off. We'll discuss after
I don't know
this.
about that.
If repeating as Super Bowl champs was easy, everyone would do it. There's a reason we have the term Super Bowl hangover.
Philadelphia Eagles are Super Bowl champions. Let the celebration begin.
We were a bunch of underdogs. And you know what underdogs is? It's a hungry dog.
Our expectations are simple. We know that we're going to get everybody's best each week, so we're going to embrace that and get ourselves ready to play.
It's not where we thought we would be. I'm not panicking. We have got to pick it up.
The way we've been playing and performing, it starts with me.
I'm confident that we'll fix it. I'm confident that we'll turn it around, but it's frustrating right now.
This will be a devastating defeat to blow a 17-0 fourth quarter lead.
The pressure's off of us. Nobody on the outside world is giving us a chance to do much of anything.
We all just heard it. Doug Peterson saying that the pressure is off after the Eagles' 3-4 start. Steve Smith, that seems a little weird to me.
No way. It does seem weird, but you got to remember, this is a team that went through so many injuries on the offensive line. They traded, they've had adversity. Then they lose their starting quarterback midway through his MVP candidate's MVP type of season. And then Nick Foles comes. So this is a team that used to adversity. They're human.
Yeah.
They have these adjustments they're making, and now they're just pushing forward. Easy street now. Just be themselves.
Speaking of being human, let's look at two very important humans chatting it up on the sidelines. Roger Goodell along with Shad Khan just moments ago.
It's a lot of money between them two right there.
Yep. Loved having Goodell on Good Morning Football earlier this week. But guys, it's time to pick the game. Who's winning today, presented by Expedia. I will go ahead and start us off, gentlemen. Because of the problems with the secondary, some of the tumult, of course, and the fact that the Eagles are 5-1 coming off losses over the last 2 years, I will go Eagles. More high scoring than usual. I think I'm going 38-27.
Dang. Hey,
no way. Jacksonville Jaguars putting up 27 points today. No way. I'm going 24-7 Philadelphia Eagles because they're just a better football team.
I got the Philadelphia Eagles 24-7. Team, bang, boom.
I believe in British Blake Bortles so much he's going to put up 31 points and lose 34-31 birds.
That'll do it for us here in London. We're going to turn things over. Of course, it is a sweep, by the way. Just so you know, it's pretty wild. No Jags love on this show. I was so excited for the four-man booth. Rich Eisen, Steve Mariucci, Kurt Warner, and Michael Irvin taking over in the booth right after this at Wembley.
Thank you for watching NFL Game Day Kickoff, presented by Expedia. Everything you need to go.